Hi everybody, I'm Mike, and I've been playing Warhammer for about 11 months now. We're just gonna round up to 12, because that sounds better in the title. And it's been this little brainworm of an activity that invades every single aspect and facet of my life. And one of my favorite things to do is listen to strangers on the internet ramble and ramble and ramble while I paint my little dudes. And I figure, you know what? I've been leeching off the community for so long, maybe it's time to give something back. I'm gonna talk about a few of the things that I've learned during my first year of playing Warhammer. And I'm definitely not gonna do it from the perspective of being an expert or anything close to that, because believe it or not, I'm quite terrible. I'm very bad at the game, and I've never read the books. So, you know, I'm uninformed and ill-suited to be an educator of any time, so this video is for entertainment purposes only. But I am going to talk about some of the cool stuff that I've learned during that first year, just fun little aspects of Warhammer that took me by surprise, and maybe if you are an old pro, you can look back on this video nostalgically and be like, ah yes, I remember when I was young. And maybe if you're thinking about getting into it, but you're intimidated about certain aspects of the hobby, then this might actually help. So yeah, here's a few things that I learned about Warhammer that I think are pretty neat. Anyways, number one, this is probably the most important one, especially for anybody that's brand new, and that's that it is perfectly acceptable to be bad at this game, because you're gonna be bad. It's almost like there's no way to not be bad. There's so many rules and it's so complicated. It's like the first few games you play, the main goal of those games is going to be not forgetting the rules and remembering what all your little pieces do. And even if you play for months and months and months, you'll find that you're still just forgetting stuff left and right. The end of most games, especially for like playing late into the night, is just like helping each other remember the rules until round 5. So when you're first getting started, like you're gonna be super duper bad, and you're probably gonna have somebody hold your hand throughout the game, and that's perfectly acceptable. And even once you get to the point where you can remember how your army works, now you have to play somebody else, and now you get somebody else's army to forget how it works. It's gonna be very confusing. One of the things that I was so scared of when I started playing is this fear that I had that I was going to get on other people's nerves. Like, I would go to my local game shop and I'd be queued up to play this person who's been doing it for years, and I was just afraid. I had this image in my mind of this person coming in like wanting a challenge, wanting a good game, and being kind of disappointed when they realized that I was brand new and they were just gonna smear me. And I couldn't have been more wrong. I was honest with people and very upfront with them. Like on Discord, I'd be like, hey, by the way, I'm brand new and I'm terrible, is that okay? And everybody's been so cool with not just teaching me how the game works, but kind of like guiding me through how their armies work as well. So if you're just upfront with people and you're like, hey, I'm new, I'm really bad at the game, nobody has a problem with that. In fact, from my experience, after playing for a little while, when a new person reaches out to me and they're like, oh, hey, it's my first game, I'm kind of excited because I get to try different strategies, or maybe I've got this cool unit that's always just getting wiped before I get the chance to use it, and I say, okay, now is a time to like put that front and center and see how it plays. So even if you've played for a long time, or 11 months, you can learn a lot by playing with these people who are brand new. So it's definitely not a waste of anybody's time, as long as you're upfront with people and you tell them like, hey, I suck. Everybody's super cool with it. And next up, we're gonna talk about like this idea of winning. Probably gonna be out of reach for a while, so I would suggest making it not about winning and instead just trying to survive to turn 4. That was my goal, and sometimes it still is my goal, is just to try to survive until turn 4. Because even though people who are gonna work with you when you're new, maybe they're super friendly, super cool, super awesome people, they might still get a little bit bored if you stick your neck out way too much in turn 2 and just get decapitated. You lose all your most important units, and then the rest of the game is just this grinding massacre where they're just beating you to death for 3 hours and you have no chance of coming back. That's kind of no fun for anybody. So my suggestion, and I guess this is my one gameplay suggestion, is just like, be pretty conservative with your units. Try not to squander them too much. Try not to just throw them into the fray, because not only will you lose, but you'll also make the game less fun. And if you do find that you're just getting creamed and you have absolutely no chance of coming back, you can talk to the person and be like, hey, look, let's just stop rolling dice and we can talk through the last few rounds of the game. That way you can still learn. You know, you can say, okay, my unit's gonna go here, and then they'll say, oh, well, my unit's gonna go here, and they're gonna do this, and then you can do this. And this has been great for me because it kind of allows me to concede without just saying, okay, I quit. You know, let's pack up our toys and go home. I can concede while also giving this person the chance to finish tabling me and kind of get that satisfaction of winning. Because it's kind of a bummer if you take that away from them. And the next thing I learned is that painting is really not that difficult. I like my little guys. They weren't that hard to do. Like, I didn't do a ton of fancy stuff with them. Still need to base them. But I didn't do a ton of fancy stuff with them. Everything is pretty simple. Armor is 3 colors: the shadow color, the mid-tone color, and the highlight color. Faces are 3 colors: the shadow color, the mid-tone color, the highlight color. So for somebody who's a little bit artistically inhibited, like myself, getting into this was really intimidating. And I kind of wasted my first combat patrol. I'd still feel a little bad about that. I didn't put a ton of effort into painting my little guys because I thought there was no way that I could pull it off. I thought I was gonna spend a bunch of time doing it and it was still gonna look bad and it was just gonna be embarrassing. So I just kind of slapped some paint on them and called it a day, which is a fine approach if that's what you wanna do. But I guess what I'm saying is, don't limit yourself to doing an okay enough job just because you think you can't learn how to do it better. I've had so much satisfaction in looking up really cool YouTube channels and Instagram channels that teach you how to paint in such a way that you can actually replicate it, or you can at least like replicate the diet version of it. That's what I did with them. Is I looked at this guy called Swarm Painting and I looked at some of the stuff he did and I said, okay, how can I distill some of these steps down into something that's a lot easier for me to repeat with very little talent? And so far, I think it's worked pretty well. Like, my guys aren't winning any golden dragons, but I'm surprised with how good they look. I think they look neat. Yeah, so don't get too down on yourself thinking that you can't do it. Everybody who sees little Warhammer figurines who they don't play, that's the first thing they say is like, oh, I don't know how you paint that small. It's really not that difficult. And if you make a mistake, you can always just go back and paint right back over it. No big deal. So I've had a really good time. Also, you don't really have to buy super expensive stuff. Like, I know people that use airbrushes and their stuff looks great, but I don't use an airbrush. The fanciest thing I use is one of these little makeup sponges. I get these from Amazon, and they're sweet. I really like using these things. Also, it's super therapeutic. I know I'm talking about painting so much. I didn't realize like how therapeutic painting was gonna be, but coming up here after like a long, stressful day and just putting on a long form YouTube video like this one and just painting your little dudes is so much fun. I listen to Wendigoon, I listen to Luton, Papa Meat, Charlie, who else? Oh my God, history videos, so perfect for 40K. This is the best video you've ever seen in your entire life. I'm putting it right here. Heck, I'll link it down below. This is my favorite video. Just fantastic stuff to listen to while you're working on your little guys. Love it. Next up, I'm gonna talk about 3D printing and why it is awesome. 3D printing is the best, especially when it comes to vehicles. I was afraid when I got started because this hobby just costs so much money. I had this feeling of dread when I needed to buy transport vehicles or vehicles to counter other people's vehicles, and I just see how much they cost, and it's like, it's unbelievably expensive, and it's outrageous that they can just randomly get sent to Legends. You can buy like a $90 vehicle off the shelf one day, and the very next day they can be like, oh, you're not allowed to play that anymore. Get out of here, James Workshop. No way. Every single person I've played with thus far, every single person has had a 3D printed something or other in their army. Most of the time it's like the bigger monsters or the vehicles. I've got these 3D printed Lancers here. I think they came out great. Look at that. I still need to get the little front bumper on this guy, but who cares, man? Nobody cares. This is like $200 worth of James Workshop stuff that I got for free because my buddy's got a printer. It's awesome. I just pay him for the plastic. No, I love these things. They're super dope. And nobody cares. Nobody cares if you've got anything 3D printed. Most people kind of like, they have like the brunt of their army. Like, okay, here's like my signature troops. Those will be made by James Workshop. Maybe like the big characters will be Games Workshop. But then a lot of other supplementary stuff, you know, transport vehicles, tanks, specialty units, things like that are printed off. I've seen a lot of really cool prints. I know Space Wolves have some really cool prints. Yeah, who cares? Nobody cares. Doesn't matter. 3D print whatever you want. And lastly, and I think this may be the most important one, at least the coolest one to me, and that's like the social aspect of it. You get so much time to just sit and talk with someone that you might not otherwise find yourself talking to for like 4+ hours at a time, which is really cool considering how restrictive our lives can be when it comes to meeting and communicating with new people. We're stuck most of the time talking to our coworkers or people in the same or similar line of work. And then we get done and we come home or we go out and we hang out with friends that we already know. And even then it's like, okay, you're hanging out with groups of people who may bring new people, but you don't really get too much of a chance to talk to them. So it's like, here's this person who you do not know that you are now stuck in conversation with for such an extended period of time. And I just think that's really fun. These are people that are in different walks of life. They're people who think and believe in different things. They work in vastly different careers. They have different experiences growing up. They lived here and they lived there and they're doing this and they're doing that. And it's just, you know, people who are sometimes like-minded, sometimes not like-minded, and you get the chance to talk to them about stuff and make friends with them for an extended period of time. And I think that's just really, really cool. It helps get people out of their bubble. Everybody's in a bubble, I think. It's hard to break out of it. Sometimes it's even hard to realize that you're in it. But once you do break out of it, it's just this really cool thing. And I think Warhammer is very good at getting people out of that bubble. Because one minute you're talking to somebody who's a computer engineer, and then you're talking to somebody who's a construction worker, and then you're talking to somebody who's a flight attendant, or they do this or do that. And it's just this vast range of people with these vast ranges of experience, and you get to bro out with them for long periods of time. And I just think that's really neat. Kind of opens your brain up a little bit. Sometimes you forget that there's people out there that are different than you. And this is a great way to remember that, and remember that that's perfectly okay. And it's awesome. Variety is good. Warhammer kind of forces that social variety. And I like it a lot. I think that for me is the best aspect of it. And also, it kind of reinforces the connections that you do have. Because if you've got buds that you play Warhammer with, I mean, that's like 4 hours of just chatting with each other. Most people don't do that. Most people either just sit on the couch or they just hang out and drink beer. To have like 4 uninterrupted hours of just face-to-face chatting instead of like looking at screens or, you know, like watching something else. That's cool. That's a rare thing in life these days. And 40K is awesome at bringing that out. Anyways, those are some of the things that I learned my first year doing this. I just think it's really cool. I've had such a good time. I'm very happy that it's in my life. And hopefully this video entertained you while you painted your little dudes. Did you have a similar experience? Did you encounter similar things, or was your experience vastly different? I don't know. Let me and everybody else know down here in the comments. And until next time, I'll catch you all later.